everybody, it's Hailey, and today we are going to be making some delicious soft dinner rolls. This is actually my homework because we're going to baking class, but there's snow outside right now, so we couldn't go today, so I have to bake it at home, which is also why I'm wearing my frozen shirt, because it's frozen outside. Anyways, let's get started. First thing we have is 336 grams of warm water and 30 grams of yeast, and I'm just going to whisk these together a little bit. This doesn't smell very good. There's so much yeast. It's like a crazy amount of yeast. And also, by the way, all of the measurements for this recipe are in grams because our teacher doesn't want us to use like cups to measure things, so we have to use grams, and I'm very sorry if you don't have a scale. I will try to convert it to cups in the description box. Alright, I've got my yeast mostly mixed in, and now I'm just gonna let this sit while we sift. Alright, next thing we're going to do is sift together the flour and the milk powder. And this is just to make sure that there are no clumps in it. And as you can see, all of my ingredients are in these little plastic containers because we actually went to class yesterday, Sam and I did, and we made what we were going to make for that day, and then we also took home the ingredients for this recipe because we knew that we would have to have class at home. So this morning we got on like a virtual meeting to go over the recipes, and oh my gosh, I just dropped the cup in there. And now I'm just baking. Snow! More snow! Snow outside and snow inside. That was fast. Oh, and this is not normal flour. This is bread flour.
You want to be happy on a sunny day.
I don't know the lyrics. And if you want to test to make sure your yeast is good, you can just let this mixture sit for about 5 minutes and it should get like foamy on top. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just gonna move on. And now the rest of the recipe is going to be super easy. We're just gonna combine all of the ingredients in one bowl. I've got my yeast water mixture. Then I've got the bread flour and the milk powder. And then 1 egg, or 50 grams. I actually did weigh the egg and it happened to be exactly how much I needed. I mean, that's so crazy. I didn't even know I did not expect having to weigh my eggs for baking, but we do. And if there's too much, you just scramble it up and you take some out. Then I've got my sugar, my salt, some softened butter, and some shortening. And to mix this together, I'm just going to use the dough hook for my stand mixer, and I'm gonna mix this on medium speed for 10 minutes. Okay, so my dough has been mixing for a very long time, and look at it. Ooh. So now we're gonna do what's called the bulk fermentation. So we're gonna let the dough rest for about an hour or so until it's doubled in size. So I've got a bowl here and I'm gonna spray it with some cooking spray. Then I have a plastic bench scraper, which will make it easier to get your bread dough out of the bowl. Ooh, this looks so good. It's so like soft too. This is gonna make the best rolls ever. Just like very quickly, I'm gonna tuck in the edges a little bit because I want it to be smooth on top. All right, so I'm going to form my dough into a nice ball like this, and then I'm going to place it in the bowl. And then I'm gonna turn it in the bowl so that the whole thing is coated in the cooking spray. And now I'm going to wrap this in plastic wrap. And here's something I learned in school yesterday. You want to draw a line around where the bread dough is in your bowl. That way you can actually see when it's double in size, because otherwise it can be kind of hard to tell. I'm just gonna like see, I think it's like there. And then you don't actually really have to do this, but I'm going to date it and label it because I kind of have to. saying you don't have to do it, but then I'm saying you have to do it. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it. Okay, it's the third, and this is rolls. All right, I'm just gonna let this rest until it's doubled in size, and then I will be back. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, my dough has definitely doubled in size. It's huge now. And now we're gonna portion out the dough. Cool. I just took my dough out of the bowl, and the first thing I'm gonna do is just fold it once. Just once. And now I'm going to separate the dough into 2-ounce pieces. So I got my scale, and I covered my scale in plastic wrap. And then let's see. Needs a little more. Too much. Right, so here is my first roll, and I'm not gonna form it right now. I'm just portioning it out. And then I'm gonna set that on the countertop in front of me, and I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap. Because if you don't cover the rolls with plastic wrap while you're separating the other dough, then it could get like a crusty skin on the dough. And now I'm just gonna keep doing this until I'm done separating all my dough. Alright, I finished portioning out all of my dough. Just make sure it's covered with plastic wrap, and then we're gonna let this sit for another 20 minutes to proof. And the rolls should double in size. Alright, and after your rolls have doubled in size, it's time to shape them. There are a lot of different ways you can shape your rolls, but I am going to just be making a normal roll shape because that's what I'm supposed to do. And you know, this is still a homework assignment. Here's my first roll, and then I'm gonna set it on my parchment-lined baking sheet. And what I'm doing, oh no, they're trying to grow into each other. I'm just like taking the edges and folding them in and under. And then you want to place them on the baking sheet, seam side down. So here's my dough, and I'm just going to fold this under, fold the edge under, fold the edge under, and just keep doing that all around until you have something like this. All right, so I've got all of my rolls rolled out. That sounds weird. Anyways, I covered them in plastic wrap, and now we're gonna let them sit again for about 20 minutes or until they're doubled in size before we bake them. A lot of steps to bread making, but it's definitely worth it. I'm back with my rolls, and now, the last thing we have to do before we bake them is egg wash them. So I've got an egg right here, and I'm just gonna take my fork and whisk it up. And then you're just gonna add about a tablespoon of water. Then I'm going to use a pastry brush, and I'm going to dip it in the egg wash, and I'm going to brush it on top of the rolls. This is going to make them nice and shiny when they come out. And also, you don't want to put too much. It should just be lightly brushed across the top. Alright, so now I am ready to bake them, and I still have leftover egg wash, but that's okay. To bake these, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 385 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to bake them for 12 to 15 minutes. Alright, look at my rolls. They look so pretty. Probably. And Sam made some French bread for his homework. Cute.